Thank you so much for coming to Seabright and visiting us in our firehouse. Today's a very exciting day for me personally. As you know, issues of recovery and rebuilding are crucial for us every day in our post-Sandy life. And so it's a very incredible thrill to be standing here today with both our governor, Christie, who, as you know, has been he's a tireless advocate for us and our hero. And we are doubly honored to have U.S. Secretary of Housing and Urban Development, Sean Donovan, here with us today as well.
So it is wonderful to be with all of you here in Seabright. I wish I were here under different circumstances, but the truth is that down in Washington, D.C., we heard about this town called Seabright that was doing really amazing things to recover. We heard about a mayor who has done some of the most innovative things where she couldn't get help in one place. She looked under a different rock. She went a different place and has been able to bring together a community to recover from something I imagine not a single person in this room would have thought they would ever see in their lifetimes. One of the reasons that Governor Christie fought so hard for this, it's called Community Development Block Grant money. For those of you who don't speak HUD, we call it CDBG. And this is the largest allocation of this CDBG money ever, $16 billion in total. And the governor fought for it because it's the most flexible dollars we have to help recover. What we awarded yesterday is the first third of that money, just over $1.8 billion to the state of New Jersey, the largest allocation, I would add, of any jurisdiction that got awards yesterday. And this first chunk of this money, we expect to largely be focused on homeowners and small businesses. There may be some infrastructure, a few other things that get done, but the primary focus is going to be if a homeowner has got their insurance and FEMA dollars, FEMA's limited to $32,000, this money can help fill those gaps for homeowners to be able to get back in their homes. For small businesses, same thing. If a loan or insurance payments aren't going to do it, this money can help those businesses get back.
Secretary?
Yes.
A lot of residents are concerned the new FEMA maps that are being developed are going to affect the number of houses that weren't actually damaged significantly in this storm. Do you have any idea how many would be affected, how many would have to be elevated, how high the rates would go, that sort of thing?
I don't have those precise numbers on me. The way that the flood insurance works is that any home that's damaged more than 50%, as they're rebuilding, needs to comply with those new flood levels. I'm sure the mayor may want to address what's been done here in Seabright specifically with those new flood levels. But look, this is the basic choice we're making here is as we're rebuilding, do we rebuild in a way that the next time a storm comes, that we're going to have the same kind of damage, or do we actually invest in elevating those homes so that the next time a storm comes, the damage is much, much less? And frankly, you know, it seems like that 100-year storm is coming every few years now. So what I'm hearing as I walk the streets, as I talk to mayors, and talk to the governor, I'm hearing, look, we all have to decide to rebuild smarter and stronger, and if that means a home's been severely damaged to elevate it, that makes sense. And by the way, one of the things that this CDBG money can be used for is to help families elevate their homes. Because the truth is, in 2 years, when those new flood maps go into effect for flood insurance, the costs if you elevate are going to be dramatically lower. So in the long run, this will pay for itself, even if it costs something now, and we can help on that. It will pay for itself in the long term because your insurance rates are going to be lower going into the future.
But a lot of people are worried about not the ones that were damaged now, but the ones that will have to be raised under the new maps. I'm sure there's a lot of people in this room that are worried about that. What's going to be done with them? Is there going to be money to help them elevate?
So just to be clear, these new maps, in terms of affecting flood insurance rates go into effect 2 years from now. So it gives folks some time to make those decisions about elevating, understand what their rates are going to be. What I'll tell you is that we will be working with the state to make decisions about that CDBG money and see if there's a choice to allocate some of that money to folks who may not have been damaged now but are choosing to want to go ahead and elevate, to see if there's some help available.
How much after the press? Yeah, I'm a citizen of Seabrook. I just want to. I was just wondering how much emphasis is going to be put on flood mitigation, preventing floods, instead of putting the whole onus on homeowners having to raise their property. How about bulkheading? How about sand dunes? How about beach replenishment? Is there any interest in that?
Look, and this is, the president has said this over and over again. This isn't about the federal government coming in and telling communities like Seabright or states what they have to do. This is about communities coming together. The mayor over lunch explained to me a real vision of what is possible here and the kinds of things that this community wants to do. We want to support those things. So if the decision is, I saw the sand that's being added to the beaches that's going to help make sure that the next time there's a storm like this, it's going to limit the impact. So we're very open to doing those kind of mitigation things. It's really a question about local choices and decisions. There was a question right here.
Yes. The contract that New Jersey awarded to distribute the $1.8 billion that you spoke of, they just lost their contract last year in Galveston, CDM, for not working properly. There were a whole number of issues, and Texas took away the contract from them. Are you familiar with the firm CDM, and is there anything New Jersey needs to be concerned about in terms of how they administer all this money that's coming through them?
I can't comment specifically on that contract or the firm. What I can tell you is that with the award of this money, we are also setting up a specific project management office that, like the president did in the Recovery Act, will make every dollar transparent to citizens. They can look at where the money is going, how it's being spent, and at the same time, we've already set up a recovery, accountability, and transparency board that will have responsibility, all the inspector generals around the federal government, to reviewing and making sure every dollar is spent the way it ought to be spent. And that's, the president said that to me. I know the governor feels very much the same way. We're going to make sure that we're accountable in the way that these dollars are spent.
Yeah. Let me just be really clear on this. Because I know that, like, what many people in the press think their job is now is to go back and Monday morning quarterback every decision that gets made. There were 6 bidders, and the CDM is not administering the money. CDM is helping us to write the plan that we send to HUD for approval, not administering the money. Secondly, there were 6 bidders. It was competitively bid. The folks at the Department of Community Affairs checked references throughout the country, and the overwhelming references that we got back on CDM were positive. If, in fact, you are going to exclude every company who ever has had a disgruntled customer, then basically Matt Katz will be doing all of the work here on behalf of rebuilding the state. We won't get rebuilt for 40 years, but no one's ever lodged a complaint against him for having a problem with a customer. This is the kind of ridiculous stuff that's meant just to try to inflame when we're trying to, in fact, get things done here. We competitively bid it. We got great references back on this company. The decision was made by the Commissioner of the Department of Community Affairs. We look forward to working with CDM to get our plan done and submitted quickly and properly so we can get it approved by HUD. They're experts at this, and they're going to help us do it. And we're going to be bringing in lots of other people. And every person we bring in, I suspect, if you and the media work hard enough, we're going to be able to find someone who doesn't like them. And I'm sure you'll put it right on the front page of the paper. What we care to be judged by is what the results are when we get done. And I think the results that you've seen so far in this state have been extraordinary in terms of all the work that we've done thus far. And we're going to continue to try to pick the very best people we can to do the work to get the job done for the people of the state, regardless of whether they've had a disgruntled customer or two in their background. I'm sure even at a place as great as Baines across the street, every once in a while they got some crazy customer who comes in there who gives poor Mr. Bain hell. Doesn't mean you shouldn't go shop at Baines Hardware, and doesn't mean you shouldn't use some of these companies as well.
This is a question for both of you on buyouts. I was in Sayreville this morning. A lot of people saying their insurance won't cover the full cost of repairs, let alone lifting the house. They want to sell out. And I'm told by the mayor not that many people feel that way here in Seabright. I wonder from both of you what do you think about the wisdom of that approach of doing buyouts and how big a piece of that money coming into New Jersey might be devoted?
Yeah. First of all, let me just say, I have seen, even today, that one beach club on the beach that came through this storm was built recently under the new codes meant for what we call V-zones, the most vulnerable areas. But whether it's that, elevating homes, there are many things that you can do to protect buildings and structures that may be vulnerable. So there are lots of options, and particularly when we had more than 300,000 homes damaged. The vast majority of communities, homeowners, businesses, the issue is about rebuilding, not about buyout. So let's not lose sight of the fact that for the vast majority of folks, this is really about rebuilding. There have been places, there are communities that buyouts make sense because the community chooses to do that. I've walked through a neighborhood in a town in Iowa, Cedar Rapids, that was devastated by storms. And that community came together and made the decision that they weren't going to go through this again and chose to pursue a buyout. Right now in Staten Island, for example, I was there yesterday, there are 150 homeowners in a neighborhood of 170 homes that have decided to do this. But this has to be a decision that the community comes to together, because when you're asking a family to give up a place they've lived for 50 or 100 years or even longer, that's in some ways the toughest decision a family ever makes. And so this has to be done in a way that brings the community together to make the decision.